Hi everyone, when this series started on this channel, we opened with an exploration of the discipline of systems thinking. And then we went very detailed and micro into the system build. Now, systems thinking was deeply intertwined and connected in a foundation of every aspect of that system that we built out and that we now use to guide our life and help us shape ourselves and our actions into the life that we want to live. Now, let's step back and revisit systems thinking in life, in daily execution, and in ongoing reflection as we plan and implement with our systems. One quick note before we dive in, my new course, Notion Life Design with Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults will be launching on August 25th. And in many cases, you'll be seeing this video after that point. So after that date, the course will already be live. Information on that is available at notionlifedesign.com. It's got the full details and the full scoop on what's going on there. I am insanely excited and proud of this course. This is the full culmination of not only everything we've been doing on this YouTube channel, but the entire first cohort iteration of the course. This is actually a new course, redesigned, taking the immense learnings from the first cohort and this channel and endless coaching and one-on-one training I've done with individuals and very small businesses on how to implement systems in the Pillar, Pipelines, and Vaults process to define, target, and achieve the things that we most want to achieve in life, to bring focus and alignment to everything we do, and to have knowledge resurface in context in the right place and right time. It is the most effective approach I have ever seen, and this is the ultimate culmination of all that work, all that research, all that feedback, all that learning. It all comes together with the Notion Life Design course at notionlifedesign.com. So with that, let's dive further into systems thinking and life design. Now, Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults, PPV, the system we've been designing, is all about life design, shaping the life you want to live and guiding you to do the things that will deliver your long-term aspirations, as opposed to living reactively and bouncing around and not moving steadily towards the longer-term aspirational goals you've set for yourself. Fundamental to that is aligning that direction to your daily and hourly activities and focusing ruthlessly, eliminating all distractions. Now, that doesn't mean we can't have fun. We will plan for time to have fun, time to spend quality time with the people we care about. If our goals are to spend those kinds of relaxing moments, create a more peaceful existence, form closer relationships, then those are actually the goals we're building towards. If the goals are professional, then we're building in that direction, or we define a mix, a balance, and we pursue progress across all those different dimensions. But we really determine what matters most and prioritize those things and minimize the number of things we're pursuing. Typically, it'll have some balance of professional and personal and health. So it all comes together in the way that we each choose for ourselves. And then finally, we've built the tools to capture the information and knowledge as it comes in, controlling this fire hose of information and curating what matters for what we want to achieve, organizing it, and setting it up such that it will resurface in context in the right time and right place so that we can use it when we're implementing on those goals and aspirations. So everything in our process is about alignment and focus on what matters most to us. Of course, part of this process is finding and discovering what matters most to us. So we put that all together, and that's our PPV system. And this is all built around systems thinking principles, factoring in the entire ecosystem you live in, aligning wide-ranging forces for success, and removing or minimizing negative forces. Essentially, it's the study and harnessing of cause and effect over a greater range of space and time, factoring in more elements and actors than you would have in the past. But before implementing, first we need to understand. We need to examine three areas. Self-reflection, first of all, awareness of how our own minds are helping or hurting our progress. Our inner voices, is there self-sabotage? Is there strength applied through our inner frameworks in the way we see ourselves and see the world? Then environmental reflections. Is my environment conducive to my progress in life? And what can I do to change my environment to help? And then finally, we need to reflect on other actors in the ecosystems that we operate in. That could be other people, it could be organizations, it could be communities. Who around us is helping us grow, helping us progress? Who around us is hurting us? Who's an impediment to progress? Who's putting counter forces against our forward momentum? And who is missing? Which people, organizations, or communities would be helpful for us to progress, for us to grow, for us to build and create? Who's missing from our lives that would be really valuable if we had that in our lives? It helps to think about all these things. Who's helping, who's hurting, and who's missing. This is all part of systems thinking, looking at the broader ecosystem and all the elements interacting within it, and looking for the cause and effect, and trying to identify what's a hindrance and what's an obstacle to overcome, and what's helping me and how we can put more forces at work to propel us in the direction that we've chosen. And then on a regular basis, we need to examine the patterns in our lives. What systemic feedback loops are we seeing over and over again? What do you see happening repeatedly in patterns in your life? Our lives are filled with patterns. Positive patterns, negative patterns, loops, repetition. We see the same things repeating themselves regularly. We need to pay really close attention to these patterns because these patterns, from their sheer consistency, have a massive impact on who we are, who we become, and what we're able to do in life. First, look for which patterns you need to stop or minimize. Look for the negative patterns that are dragging you down, that are holding you back. Identify them, make lists, and then think very deliberately on how to stop or minimize these negative pattern loops that are perpetual in all of our lives. It could be eating habits, it could be sleep habits, it could be habits of avoidance. What are the things that are really getting in your way of going where you want to go? Stop and really analyze this. Then what patterns do we need to enhance? Where do we have good starts? Where we have some good patterns and some good habits and some good tendencies, but it'd be better if we magnified them, if we built them up, if we strengthened them. Look at the ones where you're off to a reasonable start or you're doing reasonably well. How can we build on that and make them even stronger? And then finally, what patterns do we need to add? Patterns that don't exist in our lives, but we can identify would be really helpful if they did. How can we introduce these new patterns? And a really effective approach is you find the patterns you want to remove or minimize, and you replace them with another one that's strong and positive. It's much easier to replace a pattern than to go cold turkey and just completely eliminate one. So whenever you're trying to eliminate a negative pattern in your life, think about what you can fill that void with, because it creates a void and you have a longing, you have an impulse toward that pattern that you've historically defaulted to. And if you've identified it as a negative one, you want to cut it out. But it's easier to remove one when you replace it with something else. So it doesn't have this empty space. It has a new behavior that you think, okay, I have this impulse for this traditional behavior, but I'm trying to stop that. Now I've got this new pattern, this new behavior. I'm now doing this instead. So when I have the impulse for the old one, then the triggers the thought, okay, now I go to the new one, and it fills that void. It helps us progress without just trying to resist through just pure willpower, because willpower doesn't work. If we can redirect or reflect that previous impulse in the new direction, that helps us both eliminate the old pattern and introduce the new one that we're trying to jumpstart in our lives. And we want to focus on root cause actions rather than reactive symptom-focused actions. Every action and habit we have in our lives has huge ripple effects across our lives. We want to look at the center of those ripples and address that, and not the outer rings that are reactive to that initial cause. It can take just as much time to deal with a symptom as it can to deal with the root cause. Dealing with the center ring rather than the concentric circles that form around it will let you solve multiple problems by solving one problem. If you just solve an individual reactive ring later down the chain, then you fix that one thing. Of course, it'll be repeating itself when the next series of rings from that initial root cause happen again. You haven't really solved anything, and plus you have to work on each outer ring separately. If you address the center cause of the ripple effect, then you don't have to deal with solving any of the outer effects. You're just working on the one thing that's the trigger. So we want to focus on the original source issues. Now, it's easier to say that than to do that, but what that means is you have to sit down and really study a situation. This is systems thinking. What is the original source? What is the original cause that's creating all these multiple effects? Don't run around playing whack-a-mole trying to solve all the effects. Focus on identifying what the cause is and then spend your energy solving the cause. Similarly, implement source causes that create ripple effects that are positive in your life. Introduce these new causes to create the effects you want down the chain. This is something you can do in your weekly and monthly review. It's a perfect exercise for your quarterly review. That's a great time to really reflect on where are the ripple effects happening in your life and really think about what the source root cause of those is, and then focus your energy on fixing the bad ones and introducing positive new ones. On the negative side, this could be junk food or really bad eating patterns. That's constantly a root cause of problems in people's lives. Again, sleep is always resurfacing. If we don't get to bed at a reasonable hour, we have a lot of negative ripple effects throughout our life perpetually. On the positive side, working out and exercising for many people is a center trigger, a cause that creates many ripple effects across their life. Often it's called a keystone habit. It builds healthier patterns beyond the one practice of working out. It starts your day in a way that gives you energy and focus and a sense of having accomplished something. Now you're ready to do that again and again throughout the day. So it's one trigger that causes many positive ripples throughout the day. Reading could be a habit that you do that triggers many positive reactions throughout the day, week, or month. The new things you discover, the ideas that it sparks and triggers as you're reflecting on other people's thinking in your reading, those habits and practices can cause a whole chain reaction of growth and discovery and progress. Meditation is another one. For many people, can be a central cause or initial trigger that creates a whole series of ripples of positive effects and benefits throughout one's days, weeks, and months. So look for these positive ones, plant the seeds, throw the stone to create the positive ripples, and look for ways to remove the negative ones. That takes reflection, that takes time to stop and study your life. And this is what you can discover when you look very thoughtfully and critically at the patterns in your life. We'll explore all these elements in more detail and more in future videos, but this is the practice of applying systems thinking to your life. Thinking holistically, looking for cause and effect. But I just wanted to plant the seeds and lay a little bit of a foundation for how we can take the system that we're operating with and bring a new perspective through the systems thinking process and discipline, and constantly, perpetually look for ways to understand what's working, what's not working, why certain things are working, why certain things are not working, and build this regular practice of examining, reflecting, identifying root causes, and then modifying our behaviors and activities so that we can grow and progress in the directions of our choosing. So that's all for today. We'll continue to explore these topics and themes. We'll definitely dig a lot more into systems thinking now that we have our core systems in place. We'll of course continue to build out our systems and bring in more specialty elements and refinements to make those systems even better, even stronger. But we have the core system built. Now we're bringing in specific enhancements. We do want to spend some time addressing the human behavior, our behaviors, our activities around the Notion system and the PPV system, so that it's not just a matter of a piece of software running on its own. It's our behaviors and reactions and what we feed into the system and what we take out of the system that makes it work or not work. It's not like the software is going to do it. We have to do it. This is the process of making sure the machine, the software, the system is pointed in the right direction and that we're executing fully at its maximum potential and achieving the things that we've set out to achieve. That's what it's all about. So I hope this is helpful. We'll explore more of this in the future. I think systems thinking is a word that's getting tossed around more, in part because we've introduced it with this series, but I don't think it's really well understood. I think it's given a lot of lip service, so I want to make it more tangible and actionable in daily life. And that's what I wanted to start to do here, and we'll do a lot more of in future videos. So we'll have lots more to come.